Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Alright, so in this segment, we'll be looking at The Harvest of Corruption by Frank Ogbeche. Now, this is one of the plays you will be reading for your GC/WAEC. Now, WAEC actually recommended 2 texts for the African drama category. So, we'll look at these subtopics under this. Now, Harvest of Corruption. Now, this is a play by Frank Ogbeche set in Nigeria. Now, the background to the plot is similar to what goes on in developing countries of the world, particularly Africa, where corruption, official and social, is the order of the day, sadly. Social and political institutions are too weak to fight Africa's strong men and women in official positions. Now, that is what you would see. This is what you will see that comes to play in this story. We will see some very influential people who are very corrupt, highly corrupt, and you will see some people who do not have privileges. At the end of the day, when you place two sets of characters like this side by side, you find out that the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and even the poor people, when they strive to become like the rich, they become scapegoats and they suffer the consequences. And at the end of the day, we begin to discover the reason for the title of this story, Harvest of Corruption. It's a motif, it's an imagery. All right, moving on. In the play, social institutions are not even as strong as individuals. Chief, who is a major character, endowed with resources, is able to hoodwink people, legal practitioners such as the police commissioner. Even Jakarta, even if Jakarta, that is the place where this story is set, even if Jakarta is collapsing, they are not bothered. The playwright has chosen to highlight one form of moral crisis in African countries, namely pen robbery. There are a host of social vices at the background, each of which can yield. We begin to see these vices in the play. There is drug abuse, drug trafficking, cultism, all thievery, armed robbery, lack of mutual trust, piracy, political assassinations, obtaining by tricks, smuggling, kidnapping, prostitution, and so many other vices abound in this play. Now, we'll briefly look at the storyline. Harvest of Corruption is a play of about 8 scenes. It's centered on the corrupt acts of public servants and Madam Hoha in a country called Jakarta. Now, I want to believe that Jakarta is a representative of the setting in Nigeria and other developing African communities where corruption is the order of the day. Now, this play on the whole is what we call a satire. It is satirical in nature. The principal public servant in the play is Chief Haladu Adeamaka, the Minister of External Relations. He is known for his large tummy. In this context, large tummy would represent somebody who has taken a lot of bribes, who is very, very corrupt, and is looting the treasury. He is a glorification of corruption, sexual perversion, and unpatriotic fervor. He maintains a retinue of girls whom he philanders and who also do cocaine trips for him. One example is Aloho, who was tricked into going for a business trip. Unknown to her, she was not aware that she was carrying cocaine until she was rounded up by the police at the airport. There is Okiole, who organizes girls for this chief, including those who carry the cocaine for him. So we also look at Aloho, who falls victim to the chief's tricks, and we also look at other characters. As the play is about to end, Aloho, who merely escapes the law and is pregnant for Chief, she eventually gets pregnant for Chief. She feels humiliated for having been used by Okiole. Now, it should be noted that Aloho actually was in a serious need for a job, and she stated that she would willingly do anything. She met an old classmate of hers, Okiole, who introduced her into the job, in quotes. So Okiole is a very corrupt person. Okiole is more like a femme fatale in the play, and she is the one who influences Aloho's ruin. However, at the other side, Aloho has a friend, Ogeyi, who is a good girl, who has a conscience, who is more like somebody who knocks at Aloho's conscience. She gives Aloho good counsel, but Aloho is desperate to make it big. She's desperate to make a living, and that is why she falls into the wrong hands. Ogeyi is Aloho's genuine friend, who at the end of the day has her advice turned down. So at the end of the day, what happens? Now, this play is titled Harvest of Corruption because we see so much decadence among the politicians and some of the characters, and at the end of the day, there is justice because these people turn out to be apprehended by the police. The hands of the law finally catches up with them. Now let us look at the setting. Jakasa is the fictional country of the play. Of course, it is just fictional, but it is a reflection on what is happening in our African society. It is a place where corruption is harvested, just like yams and cassava. That is the motif that is being used here. Equally, harvested in good measure is the appropriate punishment for each culprit. Another thing we should take note, Jakasa is a land where university graduates roam about with jobs. We find out that it should be noted that African drama, just like African poetry, also takes a look at the predominant situations, problems in Africa that is plaguing Africa. And one of them is the issue of unemployment, bleak future for the youth. Aloho is hell-bent on picking up the chief's offer in spite of her friend's conviction that the job offer would bring her to ruin. Ogeyi has already advised her that that is not the way to go. Ogeyi advises her to be a little more patient, but Aloho is bent on taking the chief's offer, and however, she falls into ruin. Now we would briefly look at the themes in this play, Harvest of Corruption by Frank Ogbeche. Okay, so what are the themes in this play, in this drama piece? The first is graduate unemployment and a sense of desperation. It is very unfortunate that people would go to school for 4 years, 5 years, sometimes in some cases 6 to 7 years, and they have the hopes of coming out to be vibrant citizens, to contribute their own quota to the nation. But at the end of the day, it is bleak. At the end of the day, there is nothing to offer. And so some of them are thrown into situations whereby they are desperate and they put their fingers into corrupt practices. The Jakasan society of the play experiences job drought. There are so many graduates, yet no jobs. Aloho, Okiole, and Ogeyi are graduates. Okiole manages to get a job as a chief administrative officer, the minister's mistress, and an accomplice to his various crime acts. Now, that job is pregnant of other jobs. She is also a mistress to the minister and also an accomplice to his crimes. Now, for Aloho, she is not fortunate. That is why as soon as she meets Okiole, Okiole gives her the hope that she can also be absorbed into the ministry. But unfortunately, she grabs it and she drowns in the job. At the end of the day, she tells Okiole, "Could you believe that since my service, I have not been able to get a job for myself? I have tried everything everywhere, but no way." So Okiole sees it as an opportunity to bring Aloho into her corrupt practices. She introduces Aloho to Chief Haladu, and that is the beginning of Aloho's reign. For Ogeyi is Aloho's roommate. She decides to accept her fate and take up a job as a receptionist in ABC company in Jabu. So at the end of the day, Ogeyi seems to be doing fine. She's straightforward and she's a virtuous lady. But Aloho is a victim of circumstance because she could not see beyond her nose. She was tricked by Okiole. Now, another thing we'll look at here, when you plant corruption, you harvest corruption. You plant corruption, you harvest corruption. Chief Haladu Adeamaka is a personification, the very effigy of corruption itself. He recruits his corrupt setup. Some other people help him to perpetrate the evil. Remember, he has his boys. He has a police commissioner working for him. He has Okiole, who helps him to recruit girls. And of course, there is Madam Hoha, who is the owner of the hotel that becomes their hideout and a scene for their heinous deeds and activities. There's a string of boys who work for him, and they receive stipends from time to time. Chief also works in concert with Madam Hoha of the Akpara Hotel, which I just mentioned. So at the end of the day, what happens is that the law finally catches up with them, catches up with all of them. After a diligent prosecution from the court of law, Chief is convicted and sentenced to 25 years imprisonment with hard labor. Now, another thing we'll look at here is the fact that moral virtue is still superior. Moral virtue still overpowers corruption. Ogeyi is the moral voice in the play. Not only does she welcome Aloho in her apartment, she advises her against a life of a fasting. So, Ogeyi had already advised her, before Aloho went into the corrupt practice. Ogeyi is actually the one who advises Aloho against Okiole, and Aloho turned deaf ears. Ogeyi may come across as conservative and prudish, as if she is not of this century. She is said to be a born-again Christian who has vowed to maintain strict Christian doctrines. When Aloho tells her that she's going to obtain a job through Okiole, Ogeyi immediately senses danger and says, "I won't have you associating with her." Ogeyi is equally distraught and preaches to Aloho, "You, a protocol officer, do you even know about the job of a protocol officer? She says, if you love yourself, you will keep away from Okiole." So Ogeyi serves as the figure that knocks on Aloho's conscience to do right. Another thing we'll be looking at is the fact that evil does not last forever. When evil is flourishing as if it will last forever, Chief had it for a long time. He had his way. But after a while, he gets apprehended by the police. He had used Okiole to ruin girls who ran errands for him in the name of, they call them errands, but they were actually doing cocaine business. And not only was the police officer at his beck and call, the Chief Justice, Justice Odili, allowed himself to be used by Chief to subvert and twist the law. Now, these people I just mentioned, they are representatives of people who turn the law to their own favor, and at the end of the day, they pervert justice. Now, however, evil has a lifespan. It lasts only for a short time. Like people often say, every day for the thief, but one day for the owner. All right, at this segment, we'll look at the characters and characterization. Now, the author, Frank Ogbeche, portrays the character he projects them in a very simple manner, such that it's so easy to tell what they are going to do. It's so easy to see what they stand for. It's so easy to distinguish evil from good. So now we'll start with, of course, first on my list is Chief Haladu Adeamaka. Of course, we know what he did. We know his role. He is the Honorable Minister in charge of External Relations. He wields so much power and he's the main harbinger of corruption in the play. Now, what is the significance of his role? Society is always rotten from the top. The Grand Master of Corruption, as treated in the play, is a minister who works in a ministry. It is expected that he should be an exemplary character, but he depicts the fact that corruption can also start from the top. No successful corrupt deal is carried out by lone figures. In this play, Chief does not act alone. He works in concert with people. Remember, Okole, Madam Hoha, the Justice, that is Justice Odili, and the police commissioner. The playwright depicts Chief in a way that espouses his type of person. The physical depiction of Chief's physique makes us see him the way he really is. The portrayal of corruption in human structure. You remember I made reference to his pot belly. Now I don't know why. You know, if you also see policemen with pot bellies, it is assumed, the idea usually is that they have collected a lot of bribes. So another thing is, Chief, who had lived as if he had no family by keeping mistresses, now remembers that he had one. At the end of the day, when he is remorse, he now says, "What will happen to my family?" He asks the register. To the judge, he pleads for mercy. "Show mercy, my lord, I have a family, please." Now, another character I'll be looking at is Okiole. Okiole is said to be of average height, who likes to wear a tight miniskirt with an equally rare designer shoes. She's said to be gorgeous, described by her friends as an extrovert. Okiole is free-willed and a bit of a talkative. Her idea of a city is where oranges beg for plucking as soon as they are ripe. By implication, that is what she has been doing since she arrived at Jabu, the capital of Jakarta. You know, she is a corrupt figure. Now, as we said, Okiole is the femme fatale of this play. She tempts Chief as well as Aloho and lures Aloho to a fast life, thereby bringing her to ruin. She bewitches Aloho, introducing her to the concept of oranges. Now, she uses that as a form of metaphor to lure Aloho into a bad lifestyle. She's a typical city girl who lures city men to sex with that and subjects them to her whims and caprices. Now, another character is Aloho, who is the teachable character in this play. She is the one who takes up the role that you want to actually pity her. Aloho is slim, dark-skinned, about 4.5 feet tall. She has a born-again Christian look when the play opens. By the end of the day, she is being lured into a fast lifestyle. She represents a number of Nigerian youths who are frustrated and are bent on doing anything. They would rather embrace a lifestyle of corruption so as to make it in life. Her inability to abort pregnancy shows how little she knew about the way of such things. Now, Aloho is also naive. It should be noted that she's very naive. Another evidence of Aloho's innocence is the fact that she's not even aware that she's carrying cocaine in her luggage, and at the end of the day, she is caught at the airport. So she wants the fast life, but somehow she is not smart enough to embrace it. I want to believe that Aloho has a good background, but corruption and circumstances have led her to embrace this lifestyle. There are also other characters like Justice Odili, the police commissioner, and some boys who are the ones in concert with Chief Haladu Adeamaka. Now we look at Ogei. Ogei is described as a born-again Christian. She is kind, generous. She is not happy when she learns that Okiole is the driving force behind Aloho's job. She is pleasantly portrayed as a beautiful African lady. She has she's a little bit, can we say she's psychic or maybe she tends to have a foresight of what Aloho is going to face, because she is the first person that wants her. Something like giving a foreshadowing of what Aloho is going to experience. She tells her Aloho of the impending dangers that she might face if she ventures into the job. Unfortunately, that is what happens to Aloho. We also have other minor characters: Alice, the tea girl, Ayo, the commissioner of police, and there are other characters that are bound in the play. However, a minor character I would like to briefly discuss is the role of the madman. There was a madman in the play. He's called Showboy by the lady. Madman is said to be dressed in tattered clothes and is carrying a heavy bundle of tightly wrapped bits and pieces of junk dripping all over his face. He creates a scene by screaming and abusing no one in particular. He addresses a particular audience as all of you there. Although his remarks seem uncoordinated and incoherent, but he leaves a lasting impression on ACP Yakubu. ACP Yakubu is the one responsible for apprehending the corrupt people at the end of the play. He says, for instance, I be rich man. I never steal anybody's property. He says that he's a rich man. As you see me, I dress fine. If appointed a president by the current president, which is the madman's talk, he says, I will run this country well, no stealing. Moreover, he's interested in sanitation. Yes, environmental. Yes. Now, sanitation we need. Now, environmental we need for this country. You know, what the madman says impels ACP Yakubu into deep thought. Now, ACP Yakubu actually met the scene where he saw the madman displaying, and he begins to wonder, how come a man is mad, yet he has an insight into what is happening in the country? Do you know, remember the madman made reference to environmental sanitation, thereby depicting cleanliness. He is saying that the nation, our world, needs a form of cleansing of corruption and decadence. So the madman is a metaphor for the confused state of corruption and value overthrow in Jakasa. Now we will briefly go into the aspect of language and style used in this drama piece. Okay, in the play, the playwright deploys language in order to show social differentiation. We'll be looking at the language and style used in this play. His sane and educated characters use good English, while the not so educated figures use pidgin or a mix of them. The madman, market women, and Alice use pidgin. Madame Hoha also brings in a line of pidgin. She says something like, chop 'em if you like. Now that's in page 15. When she wants to assert that Okiole is too eager to have Chief to herself. The slang, what's cooking, baby, is Chief's manner of melting the social distance between him and his mistress. Okay, so Okiole wants Chief not to call her baby again. But after the huge monetary gift, she does not protest when he calls her you bitch, because she has already seen money. So these are instances of the kind of language that is being used in the play. Because pidgin is a language of the masses, the madman cannot but address his imaginary audience in pidgin. He says, you see what I mean? You know, the market women speaks pidgin. They say something like good afternoon to read good afternoon. You know, so there are other examples of pidgin that is being used in this play. We must also note the use of some special effects or devices that are used to achieve the action or storytelling in this drama. There is the use of symbolism. The first one is the appearance of the madman. He started carrying a heavy bundle. This is symbolic of a country that is said to be in need for sanitation. Being a mad country, a country morally debased, Jakasa requires a madman to rule her. Yes, I want to run this country well, according to what the madman says. Part of the problem of the country is stealing. Therefore, the madman says no stealing. Even ACP Yakubu understands the symbolism of the madman's appearance. He says, I think the madman himself symbolizes this country, which is ridden with madness and lawlessness. In order to contribute to language and style, there is also the use of sayings in this play. For example, there is a local saying that no hen can sleep with the kites around her. There is another one, a proverb story concerning the kite and the duckfowl, namely why the kite never takes the duckfowl's ducklings. Aloho reminds Ogeyi, saying, what did our people say about the duckfowl and the kite? Now this is an example of the use of sayings. There is also a saying that there is no food for lazy man. Okay? There is also another saying that God's time is the best. Now, the effect that the writer is trying to achieve here is to bring out a didactic lesson. You know, he uses saying to teach moral lessons to the readers and the audience so as to drive home his point. All right, lastly, we are going to comment on the motif of sowing and harvesting. Now, you wonder, why is the play titled thus? Harvest of Corruption. Okay, so the writer was trying to use a motif to describe harvesting, sowing, planting, harvesting. Now, take a look at this. Throughout the course of the play, a prominent motif mounts up again and again. That is where the playwright picks his title from. This is symbolized as a substance of sowing and reaping and harvesting. Okay, asks Aloho, have you heard of harvest of corruption in page 10? She goes on to inform her guest, the harvest is not always a pleasant one for the sower. Now, at this juncture, she is trying to tell Aloho that if you sow something corrupt, if you sow bad seeds, you will reap bad seeds. It is not surprising that Aloho reaps when she gets pregnant for Chief and is contemplating abortion. There is also the judge at some part of the story who delivers the humiliating punch to Chief. According to him, anyone who plants corruption should be ready to harvest of it. For him, each corrupt act has its moment of harvesting, irrespective of whether or not it is manured. So, according to what we said when we were explaining the themes, we said that evil does not last forever. We also made reference to a time of sowing and a time of reaping. When you reap corruption, when you sow corruption, you reap corruption. Now, we'll take a look at some sample questions. Now, my first question obviously is, explain the significance of the title, Harvest of Corruption, in Frank Obeche's drama. Then another question we'll look at is, try to compare, attempt a character sketch between Aloho, Ogeyi, and let's add Okiole to it. Now attempt a character sketch on these female characters. And it should be noted that some of these questions will be posted or displayed on your screen so as to determine how much you have learned in this class. I hope you found this lesson very useful. Thank you.